Hi everybody, today we are going to be making protein banana bites. It's a pretty easy recipe to follow and put together. I've played with several variations of it. One of the variations was adding sweetened condensed milk, but I'm not a big fan of that, so I try to go around that and make different recipes to see which one I like the most. We're going to start with 3 bananas, and I'm using a food processor here. If you have a Vitamix or something like that, you can use that. We're going to go ahead and blend the bananas, or puree them as much as possible here. And then the other ingredients that I have here is a gelatin to help it so that it doesn't freeze up too solid, because once this is finished blending with all of our ingredients, we're going to freeze it, not to where it's completely solid, but where we can scoop it out and it stays together. So I add a little bit of this to help it. And then we're going to add a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of pumpkin pie spice. I'm using a whey protein isolate that's 90% pure, and it's completely plain. There's no flavor, but I have used flavored ones, so you're more than welcome to use a flavored protein powder if that's what you like. I just made a batch of almond milk, so I'm going to be using almond milk. You can also use regular milk. And that's basically it. Once they're finished and we scoop them out into little balls, or I put them in ice cube trays as well, then we're going to dip them in chocolate, let them cool, and then you have your treat. And we just keep them in the freezer. They're an awesome little protein banana spice snack to have. So we're going to go ahead and get started by blending these bananas until they're completely pureed. Now, as you can see, it's nice and liquidy. There's no lumps or clumps in there. We're going to go ahead and add half a cup of almond milk. Our gelatin. This doesn't say. So I'll measure it out for you so we know exactly how much we're getting here. 1 tablespoon. Our pumpkin pie, I am going to do 1 teaspoon. Maybe half a teaspoon would probably be enough. I don't want to be too overwhelming. And about 1/8 of a teaspoon of vanilla. Next is our whey protein. And this is, I'm going to do about 1/4 cup, which is about right there. I'm going to go ahead and put this back on and mix this all together. Now that we have this thoroughly combined, I went ahead and tasted it just to make sure that I like the flavor, and I do. If you want to alter a little bit of the spice, you're welcome to do that. Next, I'm going to pour it in this Tavolo ice cream container. I use it for ice cream, but it's for freezing. And then once it's frozen, you're going to need a scooper of some sort, and I'm going to scoop along here and try to get these as round as possible. They're not that pretty, but they do taste good. So maybe a mold. If you have a mold, that would be nice. You can just mold them directly. And I have tried that, like I said, in the ice cube trays, but they look like ice cubes and they're kind of big to eat. Not that I didn't eat them, but they were good. They just weren't very pretty. So we're going to go ahead and pour this in here. And the gelatin will also help thicken this up a little bit. You can also add, which I thought about afterwards, I didn't buy any at the store. I was thinking about adding some spinach to it, or something, another fruit maybe you want to add to it. You add spinach, a lot of times it doesn't really have a lot of flavor to it, so you're getting your vegetable without having to really taste it if you don't like spinach very much. I've done ice cream before with spinach, and it was a mint ice cream. It was great because the spinach made it green automatically, and I didn't taste the spinach at all. It was wonderful. All right. Now that that's all poured in there, we're going to put the lid on and stick it in the freezer for a couple hours. I'm going to check it after about an hour and a half. I'm going to move it around because I don't want, what'll happen is the sides will start freezing and the center won't. So I'm going to try to reincorporate it so the freezing process is more even, and then remove it hopefully in the nick of time so that it doesn't get too solid, because that would make it very difficult to scoop. So I will check the time specifically so that I can let you know how long it took for mine, so you have more of a gauge when you go to make your recipe. So we'll see you in a couple hours. Hi, I am back, and it has been about 4 hours since we froze our mixture. I checked it every hour and a half. I stirred it around to make sure it would incorporate well, and it looks like we're just about ready. So we're gonna start prepping our chocolate so it's ready. I put some Ghirardelli chocolate chips in here. I like the dark chocolate because it has health benefits to it, and you should always taste them first. Make sure that they're in good working order. The first thing you want to do when melting chocolate is put it in the microwave, if that's the way you're going to do it. You can also do it on a double boiler for 1 minute, and that's usually all I need. If I just keep stirring it around, it's hot enough to melt it all. So I'm going to go ahead and microwave this for 1 minute, and then we'll stir it around. It's been 1 minute, and I'm just going to start stirring this around. The glass is really hot, so it should melt the chocolate pretty well as I stir it around. If you have to do it a little bit longer, do this until you can get the majority of it melted, and then maybe do 20 to 30 seconds from there if you need it. Depends on how many chocolate chips you decide. I do it in small batches so they don't have excess, because I really don't feel like eating melted chocolate or throwing it away and wasting it. I did an extra 20 seconds, and that seemed to be perfect. You can see it's nice and creamy. Isn't that beautiful? Ooh, it's like a chocolate fountain. If I had a strawberry. Ooh, I do. I have one in my garden. That would be good. Okay, I'm done playing. Now let's get out our ice cream, banana bites, protein bites, whatever you want to call them. Nothing fancy here. We're going to use our scooper. And I chose a small enough plate that I can fit in my freezer. This is parchment paper here, and as you can see, I kind of played around with this. So we're just going to make some scoops. They don't have to be perfect. Think about what size you might like if you were to bite into one. Then make them that size. You can do a smaller or bigger scooper. They're obviously not typically more than one bite in these, but they're holding together pretty well. That's good. So I made enough that would fit on this plate, and I'm going to stick this back in the freezer while I'm dipping these in chocolate, just to keep it from defrosting. And I'm just going to do this because if you dip it in here, it's going to start melting. And we don't want that. And this chocolate dries pretty quickly just out here. Depends on how thick you put it, but it typically only takes a couple minutes. So these are our mini bonbons, and they're already starting to harden up. You can see that. I'm going to stick these in the freezer and start my next batch until we're all finished, and then we'll be back. All right, we ended up with about 26 bites, and what I'm going to do is quickly what you want to do, hopefully this isn't sticking too bad to the bottom of this because I didn't put parchment paper on here and that was kind of dumb. We'll start on this page. We're going to go ahead and stick these in here. They will freeze much harder than they are now, but in order to scoop them out, we needed to have them still a little bit soft. So we're just going to stick them in a container like this, put them in the freezer, and by tomorrow they'll be completely solid and ready to go. I already tried one of them just like this. It's still soft, obviously. The chocolate's hardened on top. But they're wonderful, and it's a nice little treat to snack on if you want one or two throughout the day. You don't have to feel too guilty about it. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember that if you liked the video, to click the like so that I know that you liked it and appreciated it. And if you're a subscriber, thank you for subscribing. And I hope to see you soon.